On the iPhone and the iPad, all of the same reports are available, but on the iPad, you need to hit some of these other icons to access them all. The ones that are particularly relevant for Wisconsin DNR are the two that are labeled as such. Everything but the summary reports are controlled by the report settings down in the lower left. This is where you can change. You might like a particular report, but you might want to see the numbers by total instead of by acre, or maybe a tract level report, maybe rather than stand level, or possibly you like the report, but it's only relevant for some of your products. It's not relevant for all of your products. So these settings control much of what is shown on most of the reports except for these two summary reports. So let's start there. The stand summary is going to show kind of a one-page high-level statistical analysis. Now, there's only one plot in this stand again, so there really is no sampling error, but you would see your statistical analysis at the top, and then your species composition with basal area, trees per acre, volumes per acre, and total stand volumes. Now, all of these reports work the same way, where across the top of the screen, you will have a number of options. You can either head back in the upper left to the reports page. You could print the report directly from the device if you happen to have a wireless printer nearby. You could save it, in which case it is saved into the FileMaker directory, or you could email and save, in which case it is automatically attached to an email, provided you have the default mail app set up, and a copy is also saved to the device. It's the identical system on the iPhone. You're just only looking at a portion of the screen at once. And this exports a 8.5 by 11 PDF that you can then use directly, or you could import it into Excel for further manipulation. A couple of the reports that are worth looking at in detail are the Wisconsin basal area with the Wisconsin DNR classes. Now this is not all that compelling because there aren't many trees here, but you will see a bar graph. Again, this is by stand in this mode, bar graph of basal area by species, and then sorted down here by size class. And in this case, I turned on the sorting by growing stock, so it'll show acceptable and unacceptable separately. If I wanted to show all of them together, I could hit back, go down to report settings, and here I could deselect or unselect growing status, and when I go back to rerun that report, it's not going to sort them by acceptable, unacceptable. So that's a good example of how those report settings can control the reports. I'm going to turn that back on and now go to the Wisconsin DNR product sort, we call this. Now, some of these will give you a warning that, hey, you can change some of these reports using the following options in the report settings. And it'll also note that depending on how many trees you have, some of these reports can take a couple minutes to produce. If you have hundreds of trees and they're split into multiple stands and you're sorting them by multiple attributes, it can take a minute or so. So here is the Wisconsin DNR product sort. Now this is going to, in this case, sort by acceptable and unacceptable, as we indicated in the settings. And then it's showing all of your pulp in two different units. It's showing all of your pulp in cords and all of your pulp in tons. And then separately, it's showing all of your saw timber in MBF and your saw timber in tons. So this is not showing, the volumes are not the sum of all of these numbers. These are showing two different versions of your pulp numbers, two different versions of your saw timber numbers. There are a number of other reports, including a diameter distribution graph under the stocking title, and this will show your diameter distribution, in this case, acceptable and unacceptable. Crop and dead trees were also two options in that pick list that we didn't use. Beyond that, it's worth just taking a few minutes and going through each of these reports. You'll find examples of many of these reports in your manual, but just to illustrate, There are many. Here is a stocking table showing both the number of trees and the volumes by diameter class, by species, by product. So here we have the product of bolts that was measured in cords. And for our acceptable, we have our aspen with these volumes. In pulp, we had some sugar maple acceptable. We had some birch that was unacceptable, and so forth. So again, you're going to find a couple reports that make the most sense to you and what you're trying to get out of the data. And over time, you're just going to gravitate to probably two or three of these reports. Now, there are a lot of other ways that you can be reviewing your data, in addition to the volume reports and the species composition. There are a number of tree level reports where tree data 1 will simply show you an inventory of all the trees that you tallied with plot number and the tree number, and then the calls that you made in the field, as in what did you call for diameter, the length of your first product, what it was, the length of your second product, and so forth. So this is essentially just 100% inventory, so to speak, of all the trees that you tallied. Tree data 2 is showing you what were the actual values that were calculated for each of these trees. So here we have, for our species, we have diameter, what was the total merchantable height, and then the label here is being hidden by this header, but this is showing your pulp cords, your bolt cords, and your saw timber MBF. There are a number of plot data reports that are more relevant if you are taking a lot of non-timber data, a lot of custom non-timber data, but you can look at just a listing of all your plots, which this is not showing much because we don't have much done, but this will just list your plots with your lat long and the summary data of kind of the main attributes as far as stocking and volumes, as well as any notes you may have taken at the plot level. There's the report called Plot Data 4, which actually shows the analysis of all of your plots. I'm scrolling up to plot 18. So there we see what did we tally at plot 18 and what were the statistics of plot 18 by itself. So these reports can be helpful when you're stratifying after the cruise. And beyond that, it's worth just flipping through these and taking a look at them all. So we can head back home. We're all set with reports. Now, when you save a report, I'm going to hit the save button. It will automatically take the file name and apply that as a prefix, and then it will automatically name the report. You can obviously change the names, particularly if you like a report, but you do a per acre version of the report and also a track total version of the report, you might want to rename them accordingly. Otherwise, it will overwrite file names. So this says the report has been saved. So we close this project file to access the exported report. So let's say back. We'll go to home. Then we can close this. And now you'll see on your iPad or on your iOS device, you will see the stand summary PDF. And I'm going to do the same thing here on my iPhone. And they will show up below. Here's that stand summary that I just exported. Now, one way to export reports from the device is you can use this select icon in the upper right. And I can select that stand summary. And when I do that, you see this icon, this export icon shows up at the bottom. And when I press that, this will show a few different ways that I am able to export the file from the device. I could text it, I could email it. You could copy it into Acrobat and look at it directly. But these are the different ways that you can export it from the device. So I could mail this to presumably myself or someone else. It will automatically attach it to an email message using the default mail app, and I could send it to myself. And I could return to that file and carry on.